Was caught off guard on another subject after signaling that the administration would support a major bipartisan Senate jobs bill. Majority Leader Harry Reid got cold feet and scaled it back last night. Senator Gregg, ranking member of the Budget Committee, the top Republican on the Health Committee and the Budget Committee, joins us now. Thanks so much, Senator. Good to see you. First of all, you had a bipartisan deal, and you were talking. You were on the air last night. You know, you were on Hardball. I saw you on Morning Joe talking about the possibilities of being bipartisan. How does this work when Harry Reid hears Tom Harkin and other liberals complaining that the bipartisan proposal was skewed too far to the business interests and what they considered special interests, and all of a sudden scraps it?
Well, I really don't know what happened, to tell you the truth. I wasn't there in the room when Harry made that decision. I had concerns about the package because it understated the actual cost. It said the cost of the highway bill was $15 billion. It's actually $80 billion. And I felt that that was inappropriate to add that much debt to our books, and it should have been fully paid for. So I did have some concerns myself on the package, but I really don't know what, you know, it just sort of, I thought that it looked to me like Senator Baca, Senator Grassley had an understanding, and then Senator Reid just said, no, I'm not going that way. So go back to the drawing boards, I guess.
What if Senator Reid does proceed and take some of the aspects of the bill that you've already signed off on, that Republicans had already accepted, and takes that as a first step, and then tries to do a broader bill later on? Do you think any Republicans, I mean, how would Republicans not vote for these kinds of tax breaks that they've been arguing for all along?
Well, first off, I would have problems. I can't speak for other members of my party, but anything like this should be fully offset and paid for, in my opinion. You know, we just can't keep adding debt to our books, even if they're for tax cuts, which make a lot of sense to small businesses in this case. We still should pay for them, and they were paid for on the tax cut side, but the spending initiatives on the highways was not paid for. It was totally a shell game. It claimed a $15 billion expense when in fact it was an $80 billion expense, and none of that was offset. So I would have had problems with that. As to what will happen now, I really don't know. I'll be honest with you, though, Andrea, this isn't going to get a lot of jobs. I mean, let's be honest about this. These are various constituency groups, and this checks the box that says we did something about jobs, but it's not going to get a lot of jobs. The way we get jobs in this country is to put the government's fiscal house in order, to be able to say to the country and to the world that we're going to have a government that we can afford, and that we are not going to be piling on all this debt, and we're not going to go down this road of unsustainable spending.
That might take decades to get the government's fiscal house in order.
It may take decades to do it, but to take action that says that we're going to do it would take weeks if we were courageous about it. And the message that that would send, in my opinion, to the markets and to entrepreneurs and the people who are willing to go out and risk money to create jobs would be significant, and people would be willing to step up and take a risk on our economy if they knew the federal government wasn't going to bankrupt us.
And what about health care? Now, you're stepping down. Maybe you can be the next Olympia Snow. We're sort of joking about that. We're not talking about some sex change operation here. But we are talking about the possibility that you could lead a group of Republicans to try to do something. The polling all shows that people still, by a majority, want something on health care.
Well, first off, I like Olympia a lot. She's a very respected and effective force in the Senate. But I'm a hardcore fiscal conservative. I don't mind saying it. I am quite proud of it, honestly. And so for me, the health care issue revolves around getting the costs under control, as well as getting better health care and more access. And the problem with the bills that came through the Senate and the House was they did nothing. They actually exploded the cost, exploded the size of government. So I say, let's step back. Let's start with a blank sheet of paper, and let's start putting on that sheet of paper things we can agree about. And a lot of the things we can agree about will affect the out-year costs. For example, malpractice reform, giving employers the right to reward people for living a healthy lifestyle, rewarding quality instead of quantity, doing the Medicare numbers which were in the Senate bill, but instead of using those savings to create a new entitlement which had nothing to do with Medicare, use those savings to make Medicare more solvent. So there are a lot of places that I see that we could make progress on if we started from just put that blank piece of paper up on the wall and let's write down the things we agree on and let's take them step by step.
And Senator, finally, have you heard from anyone in the White House recently, in the last 24 hours, since you sort of put yourself out there as a possible negotiator?
Actually, interestingly enough, one of the staff people called one of my staff people and asked for the specifics of my plan, which has been out there for over a year. So it's not a new plan. But you know, my view is this summit. You know, I don't know what it is. I don't know whether it's going to be political theater or it's going to be substantive. But you know, I'm willing to put forward some substantive ideas, and if people want to take a few of them, that'd be great. If they don't, if this is just going to be another exercise in political cover, well, I understand the way Washington works. But I'm hopeful. You know, I'm always hopeful. And really, we have to do something here. We all understand that unless we get our health care costs under control, the government's future is basically unsustainable from a spending standpoint.
Okay, Rahm Emanuel, call Judd Gregg. The congressional number is 202-224-2131, if I'm not mistaken.
That's it.
It's a number he used to know well. He worked up there. Thanks so much, Judd Gregg, up in New Hampshire. And coming up,